Hi, I'm Mr. Castillo, Assistant Librarian here at Sacred Heart Cathedral. This video is going to go over plagiarism, what it is, what are some consequences if you plagiarize here at SHC, how to avoid plagiarism. In avoiding plagiarism, I'm going to go over direct quotes, paraphrasing, in-text citations, what common knowledge is, and at the end, I'm going to give you some tips to avoid stress. Let's start with what plagiarism is. In brief, plagiarism is an act of presenting another person's work or idea as your own. So, what is plagiarism? Basically, it's lying and stealing because you're taking someone else's work and saying that it's your own. This obviously is cheating on the assignment, but even worse, it cheats you out of the learning experience. This creates a very bad habit, and even worse, it creates a very bad reputation for you with your teachers. If a teacher catches a student plagiarizing, you can assume that the other teachers will all know about it, and this will create a much more difficult time for that student throughout the rest of their high school career. On an official level, what happens if a student is caught plagiarizing here at SHC? This is coming directly from the student handbook. On a first offense, the student will receive an F on the assignment. As well, the administration and their parents will be notified. On a second offense, the same thing will happen, plus the student will be suspended and put on academic probation. At this point, it can already start to affect college admissions. On a third offense, the student will be expelled and there will be a note put on their transcript. Of course, you're going to need to use other people's ideas in your work, whether you're using it to agree, disagree with, to build off of, to analyze. You're going to be working with other people's ideas, so how do you avoid plagiarism? You just want to make it clear whose idea belongs to whom. So one way to do that is to use a direct quote. That's when you're quoting directly from the work itself. So you're using the exact words from an author, you're putting those exact words in quotation marks, and of course you're giving a citation, which is right here, Dickens 1. That's the author's last name and a page number. Then of course you're going to go on to add your own thoughts. Now, that's different from paraphrasing, which is summarizing someone's words. You're still using someone else's idea, so you still need to use a citation, but you're putting it in your own words. So you're summarizing and using citations, you're using your own words, you're using your own sentence structure. It's still someone else's idea, and you're adding your own thoughts to it. Now let's go back and look at the example of our direct quote again, and we'll see how it's different from a paraphrase. In this direct quote, you start with an introductory phrase, as a famous author once wrote. Then in quotation marks, the exact words. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, end quote. And then you have the citation, Dickens 1. Now those are the exact words from the book, A Tale of Two Cities. You could paraphrase it. A famous author once wrote that the era of the French Revolution contained both the best and the worst of humanity. Summarizing it in your own words, but still using the same citation, Dickens 1. What do I mean by sentence structure? Here's an example. Writing makes you a better thinker, amplifies your voice, and increases mindfulness. Here's my rephrasing of that. Writing stories and essays can improve your mind, make your voice heard, and help you notice details in daily life. All I did was copy and paste the first sentence, then go back and change a few words here and there, but it's the same idea in the same order. I just used the first sentence as a template. That is plagiarizing. Use your own sentence structure, look at the idea, put it aside, then write it in your own words without looking at the original. Don't copy and paste it and then go back and change a few things. That's still plagiarism. Don't do that. In-text citation is a great way to avoid plagiarism. When you need to talk about someone else's idea, you want to make sure it's clear whose idea belongs to whom. It's a very brief note or a tag that leads the reader to the work cited to see the full publication information. So it points to the works cited page, which will be the last page of your essay, separate from the rest of your work. For example, here's our basic tag that we saw before. Author's last name and a page number. Now, if the author's name appears in the sentence, for example, Dickens famously wrote, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." You don't need to repeat the author's name. You just get the page number. Sometimes an article will not have an author. In that case, you can just cite it by the first 3 words of the article title. This one is coming from an article titled Garden Tips for Beginners. And so the citation would just be Garden Tips for. People often ask me, what if there's no page number? Especially if you're on a website and you're scrolling through an article and there's no separate pages, that's fine. Just give the author's last name. If there's no page number, then you can't give a page number. You only provide the information that you have. Just like before, if the author's name is stated in the sentence, you don't need to put it in the citation at the end. So if Smith stated something in quotes and there's no page number, then you're done. You already have the author's name. There's no page number needed. So that's enough of a citation. Here's an example of what your works cited would look like. It's the last page, separate from all the rest of your work. It's titled Works Cited at the top, and you can see here, this is one citation. It has the full publication information for A Tale of Two Cities, and that's where we got our quote from Dickens. So you only include what's sticking out at the end in your citation in your paragraph. Garden Tips for Smith. Notice that the hanging indent has your citation sticking out so that the reader can skim down the list of your works cited and find your citation quickly and easily. To save you some work, there are some things that do not need to be cited. This is known as common knowledge. No citation is necessary because it's widely known. It's extensively covered by many sources, such as well-known historical facts, common sense statements, ideas that are not unique to a source. So if you're not taking someone else's original idea, you don't need to cite it. If there's any doubt whether it's common knowledge or not, just ask your teacher or one of us librarians. Here are some examples of common knowledge. Oranges turn orange when they're ripe. January is the first month of the year. Facebook is a social media network. Tokyo is the capital of Japan. Maybe everyone on the street doesn't know off the top of their heads the capital of Japan, but it is a common piece of knowledge that you could look up easily in any of a number of different books. Another consideration is self-plagiarism. Basically, you're using an assignment from one class and just reusing it for another class without permission. You don't want to get in trouble with your teachers, so just ask first and it might be all right. If you're using work from a previous class, just cite your work. It's an unpublished work. Use a citation and you get to cite yourself. Here are some tips to avoid stress when you're working on your assignment and avoiding plagiarism. Don't procrastinate. Start your assignment right away. When you leave things for the last minute, then you have to rush through it. You might run into an obstacle and you won't have time to get help. When you rush the process, that's when you make mistakes and you end up plagiarizing by accident, just through carelessness. What I like to do is get a little bit done each day, especially to begin with. If you just get a little bit done, it makes it easier to continue with the assignment. It's always getting started that's always the most difficult part. So just do even the tiniest step to get started on the first day so that you can get a little bit done and it builds up fast. When you're finding sources, create your note cards and your citations as you go. This is another thing. If you procrastinate and leave it all the way to the end, you have to rush through the process, and that's when you make mistakes and you accidentally end up plagiarizing because you don't have your citation or you do it incorrectly. Avoiding plagiarism takes a little extra effort and a little time now, but it saves you a lot of stress and a lot of effort later on. You don't end up having to redo your work. You don't end up getting caught plagiarizing, which is stressful and embarrassing. It protects your reputation. Remember, if you get caught plagiarizing by one teacher, everyone's going to know about it, all the other teachers, your parents, the administration, and that's going to make everything more difficult going forward. You don't want to lose the trust of your teacher. Most importantly, if you're stuck, if you have any questions and you need help, you can email me or Dr. Tapia at these addresses, acastillo or atapia@shcp.edu, and we're more than happy to help you with your questions. If you're looking for a source, if you're not sure how to cite something, if you're stuck, just let us know. That's what we're here for. Thank you for listening.